Hello and welcome to Stories, the True and the Fictional, the indie author podcast supporting indie authors from all around the world. This episode is brought to you by Rebecca Kearsells of the Rising Dawn series and Martin Crumbs of the Valor of Valhalla series. You too can become a sponsor by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes. And now, let's get into the show. Warning. Listening to this episode may cause your TBRs to grow in size.
Hello guys and welcome to a very special episode of Stories, the True and the Fictional. We're throwing one in. We're doing one super quick because our friend Matthew Holmes is got a movie. He's making a movie. It's hopefully, with your help, going to come out as a passion project. But before we get into that, I'm one of your hosts, J.A. Bryden. With me always is our resident reader, Ryan. How are we going, Ryan?
Living the dream, and I especially living the dream because I've seen the design for my new T-shirt.
Yes, on the screen.
Our new logo, which it looks amazing. But you know what's more amazing is we got to chat, a quick chat, for an hour and 20 minutes with our good friend Matthew Holmes, who is a great Australian filmmaker. He's got four movies out at the moment. He's 80% done on the film that we're talking about today called The Sundowner, which is he needs help to finance that last little bit of the movie. And because he's such a good filmmaker and such a good friend of the show, we wanted to have a chat with him and get you guys excited to donate and to help him out.
Yeah, 100%. And look, we do apologize because I got him on and we wanted to talk about The Sundowner for the most part, but we ended up talking about his shark movie, The Fear Below, for a long while. That was a really cool insight into the special effects of underwater stuff, and just, you know, even though he didn't want to make a shark movie and he hates shark movies, he made a really good shark movie. So yeah, we talk about that.
It's like those writers and producers and directors that, you know, they make one for the studio and then they get to make their own passion project. You know, he had to do Fear Below, which is, don't get me wrong, it is a great film. It's really, really good. Me and Jamie saw it last year at separate times, but it was an amazing film. So check it out. It's on, I think in Australia, it's on Amazon Prime. You can rent it, so check it out. But yeah, it's like you do one for the studio, one and then one for you. A lot of, you know, filmmakers have to go through that.
Yeah, but yeah, it just goes to show, how talented he really is, that he can make anything a good film. But yeah, before we dive in, please check out our sponsors, Rebecca Kearsells, Martin Crumbs. They are great authors, great independent authors. We've got our honorary sponsors, Janelle Schiecke and Alexander Robb. Check them out too. Buy Ryan's new shiny shirt. The new Living the Dream shirt. We've got a new line of merch if you want to support the show. All the links are down below. But now, let's go talk to Matthew Holmes. Matthew Holmes, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. Always good to be back.
We're typically we get a lot of authors on the podcast, but we're called Stories, the True and the Fictional, and you love stories that are true and you love stories that are fictional. So it fits. It fits.
Yeah, it does. It does indeed. I tend to err on the true side, but I love a good fiction tale.
Yep, me too. You know, that's why, you know, I always watch your movies.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
So, look, we want to talk about a lot. Like this was literally an impromptu one because I saw you were doing fundraising for finishing The Sundowner, which looks absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it looks like
Thank you.
Ben Hall on steroids, like just like that. You know, that oomph, that heart, that feel. Definitely, you got the same cinematographer, don't you?
Yes.
I can never pronounce his last name.
Sylvester.
Sylvester, yeah.
Just like Sylvester the cat. Just remember that.
Or Stallone.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone. Just remember that. Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we've collaborated a few times. He shot Fear Below, and he's also recently shot a short feature, I should say, Far End of the Sea, that I did earlier this year. That's currently in post production. So yeah, we continue to collaborate. We'll probably continue to collaborate for many years to come, hopefully, providing the industry doesn't completely bottom out.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, no, we have a good we have a good working relationship, and that relationship goes back to high school. So
Yeah, well, that's what you want. And people you trust, people you build your family.
yeah.
We make the Adam Wilson joke all the time, but it's just like it's the familiar face, people you can trust. Not
Yeah,
just
exactly. No, that's because I find filmmaking is such a difficult process. It's such a time and life commitment
mm,
that and often it's a very unpleasant experience. Going out and making these movies isn't fun in that sense. It's nothing but hard work, stress, and
mm,
problem solving. So if you're going to go out and put yourself through that, you want to be with the people that you trust and people that you
yeah,
like. So people that have got your back. Because if you don't have that, you'll end up not only with all the difficulties of filmmaking, you have this
mm,
other problem, and then it just becomes a living hell. So, yeah, I think the people you make films with is as important as, what film you're making. So,
yeah. So before we get into Sundown, I want to talk about Fear Below
hmm
because, like, I remember you saying like I don't want to make a shark movie. Shark movies are stupid, and a lot of them
yeah,
are. But like, I mean, how did you do it? Because I felt like you just you created some compelling characters, likable characters. Like instantly, I was just in love
Oh,
with them.
definitely.
And then you went, here's a shark. It's just like, like was the shark less of your focus kind of thing?
it it wasn't so much less of my focus, but I just me and Greg, who wrote the script, um, we had to come up with a good reason for the shark to exist in the story.
Mm.
Sure.
Because that's what I find is the greatest weakness of all these, the sort of the endless cycle of shark films is that there's really no good. They always follow the same formula, which is group of people go on holiday or explore some place they shouldn't go.
Mhm.
Something goes wrong, they get trapped, or their boat sinks, or plane falls out of the air, or something, and then they're trapped on an island or a raft or something. And then for 90 minutes, we just have to watch them sit on
Yeah.
that place
Yeah.
that they're trapped and have a shark come in occasionally and try. And I just think that's a boring story because it makes the characters completely passive.
Yeah.
They don't do anything but wait for the shark to do something. Um, and I find that's a boring formula and makes
Yeah.
boring films. And so I had to make my characters active. And
Yeah.
so that's why I thought, always look to the granddaddy of shark films, which is Jaws.
Yeah.
Those characters are completely active. And, there's other problems beside the shark. Each one's going through, especially like the problem with the mayor and the town and the
Yeah.
politics and the sheriff's, duty and all that. This is what makes the story interesting, not the shark.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of what we intended to do that was our intention with Fear Below. I feel we pulled that off far better in the script than we did in the final film. But that was certainly our intention to make characters that were active.
Yeah. Was
And yeah.
was it always going to be like a period kind of piece? Like, because it's 40s, isn't it?
Yeah,
1940s. Yeah.
1940s. Yeah, absolutely. It's just I always love things set in the period times.
Mm.
They're just more interesting. The lack of technology really helps the story a lot,
Yeah.
I find. And all I did was to try to make Fear Below different and stand out from the crowd. I thought I have to change everything about it. I have to make it as different from every other shark
Yeah.
film that's ever been made. And so we changed the setting, we changed the location. So instead of the ocean, we chose a river. We chose a different type of species of shark. I didn't want to have the shark killed at the end. And yeah, so there were all these sort of points of difference that we really tried to play up in order to make it different. And and I think yeah, well that was certainly our intention. And it makes for a just you have to care about the characters in order to care if the shark turns up. And why we don't really care about a bunch of 20 somethings in their bathers,
Yeah.
who cares,
Yeah.
so I had to create sympathetic characters, and interesting villains and things like that. So I mean, but that's not really anything new or special or
Yeah.
ingenious. That's just filmmaking 101.
Yeah.
but it's not getting applied to these shark films, you know. So yeah. Anyway, that's the world we live in, right?
Yeah.
We live in the world of slop.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, me and my wife, we watched a lot of shark movies purely and simply because we know it's going to be rubbish. Because
Yeah.
it's that B grade in it, and your film is definitely not. But most of them, the typical group of 20-something kids going to an island, having to getting drunk and doing drugs and all that, and then having to like you say, look at them be reactive to a shark the whole time.
Yeah.
We watch it because it is literally so bad that we just can't look away. But in saying that, with Fear Below, that was my wife's first watching of a film of yours. And obviously, I've seen them all and love them all. And we got to the end of it, and we're like, wow, that was a shark movie. That was, it's up there with the good, like Jaws, Deep Blue Sea, all that kind of thing, the actual really good ones. Because one, yes, you actually care about the characters and you don't want them to die or you don't want them to get attacked by the shark, which in 90% of the shark movies, you do what you're watching them to see the shark eat in the most glorious way possible. But the main characters in this story, you actually care about. And you want to see them succeed, and without going into spoilers, you want to see them succeed because obviously, their lives are on the line. They initially take the job because their livelihood's on the line. They thought the company is close to closing down, and then they get this Hail Mary from these legitimate people, and it's because you've got all these different storylines with each character, and it doesn't you do it in a way where it doesn't take it away from the shark, but to me, it makes it more of of an interesting story because you've got so many things. You've got the gangsters, you've got the couple of people that work for the company, and then also you've got a bull shark that's come into the river. There's so many different aspects going on there that I think makes it really good.
Thank you.
So yeah. We absolutely loved it. I mean, I knew I was going to love it because I love all your stuff. But my wife, being someone who is very particular on what movies she will watch, it was one afternoon where I saw it. I think it was on Prime. Yeah, on Prime I saw it, and I said, "Do you want to watch this?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's watch it." And she absolutely loved it.
Awesome.
To which point she'd gone back and watched The Cost with me, and we're planning to watch Legend of Ben Hur in the next few weeks. So yeah, you've gained another. Yeah. Well, that was the movie that got me into your films. I remember Jamie sat me down and we were doing our very first interview with you so long ago now. And
was that Ben Hur or The Cost?
No, the time before.
The time before that.
The time before that. You've been on twice before.
Yeah. But which movie was the one that Jamie introduced you to? Was it Ben Hur or The Cost?
No, it was Ben Hur. The Cost.
Ben Hur, yeah.
Because I remember I watched The Cost. I think literally the day it was released on Prime, I rented it and watched it straight away.
And then screamed at me. He screamed at me, going, "Watch it!" Relax, I'm going to watch it. Jeez.
but I'm not a massive fan of The Legend of Ben Hur made me want to research more about the character, and I find that a lot of movies don't make me want to do that. And I don't watch that many historical films, and I've watched Ben Hur I think 3 times now. So it's just I just think it's personally the way that you shoot your films and the way that it's written is it just keeps you enthralled the whole way through. But
right.
I remember sitting down and watching it with Jamie. I think it was the afternoon before we recorded with you, and I was blown away. I was like, this is just amazing. But yeah, as I said, my wife is now a fan of yours, so you've got another fan. And
thank you, I appreciate that. I need all the fans I can get.
She is very hard to please. So definitely well done with Fear Below. It's such a good. It's probably the best Australian movie I watched of last year. So it was very good.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad it's. I'm glad that I was very worried for a second with that film that it was going to be a disaster. So I'm glad that it's managed to come through its tribulations and it's still a film that people can enjoy. So yeah. So
And I saw on the Facebook page yesterday, the day before, that it's doing really well on streaming in other countries, like in
yeah,
France and
yeah. It's done well it done well in America. It's on Hulu/Disney in America. It was on HBO in the States and it was in the top 10 there for a while.
wow,
And it's now been it's in on Paramount Plus in France, and it's
Oh, wow.
been in the top 10 for 62 days,
wow,
and it's
that's
still
awesome.
sitting there, which is a big surprise to. I was very, very surprised because usually when you get a film and it first comes out on streaming, it'll be just because the fact that it's brand new, it goes into the top 10
Yeah.
because everyone's like, oh, something brand new, good. So they watch it, and then within a week or two, it's slipped away. It's not on the top 10 anymore. That's pretty common. But the fact that it's just sat there for um, 62 days, it's just,
Mhm.
it's like 2 months, over 2 months in the top 10, which is very, very surprising. So I don't know, but I think there's something about Australian cinema that always has resonated with France. And I've spoken to the people in France, and I've also seen this on other things. There's just something about Australian cinema and French cinema that, I think the French get Australian
Yeah.
films for some reason, and they just like them. It's a bit, and same with Germans tend to like Australian movies as well. So yeah, it's just one of those, anomalies. But oddly enough, in this country, in Australia, Fear Below has had very little
Yeah.
recognition, or it's very hard to find. Like I said, you got to dig it up on Prime or Apple to
Mhm.
even view
Yeah.
it. But no streaming service has taken it for SVOD here in Australia. Yeah, it's very strange. I think that's because of the distributor Studio Canal. They don't believe in it. They've
Yeah.
just sort of pushed it off to the side and then they've let it hang on the die on the vine. So whereas the distributors clearly in other countries believe in the film a bit more. So
Yeah, because I do remember when, during one of our first chats, it was something you were talking about how hard it had been to get your films, Legend of Ben Call, on any kind of streaming service in Australia. When we have streaming services in Australia like Stan, which are boasting about where the Australian streaming service, you'll find everything, all Australian movies,
yeah,
Australian TV. Yet they're
it's
not interested.
no, it
Ridiculous.
took a long it took like 10 years before they put Ben Hall on Stan.
Yeah.
They put the cost on Stan pretty quickly because they have a relationship with Madman. So once Madman took it, so a lot of the times it can have to do with who's distributing the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and in the case of Ben Hall and Fear Below, I just don't think they're with strong distributors. So whereas with the
Okay.
cost, they had a better distributor, so they're able to get it onto the streaming services a bit better. So yeah, but just because it's you make an Australian film, it doesn't make necessarily mean you're going to get Australian support.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's just a part of the way the industry rolls, unfortunately.
Sounds like you got to move to France or Germany.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'd like to move to Italy, but I don't know about the other places. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that the films are resonating there. I don't know how the cost has gone. I know again the international distributor of the cost is, pathetic. So I don't know really what they're doing with it. I don't know how it's gone. I know they changed the title and I know they changed the poster and it looks terrible, but that probably hasn't helped. But yeah, yeah, it's one of the things about when you make a film and you hand your baby over to distributors, and
Yeah.
once they hand it over, they can really butcher it and mess it up, or they'll they do something good with it. But that's a gamble that you take.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember you posting the name change, and I thought, and the poster changed, and I'm like, wow, this is literally. I mean, I couldn't believe it because I thought when the cost came out and it was available on streaming on quite quickly on Prime, and you were saying, and then I think it had a good run on Netflix as well. But I remember watching it at 5 a.m. on the day that it came to streaming, and I was really happy with how quickly it came out. In terms of, like you said, with Legend of Ben Hall, you couldn't get it on for 10 years, but the cost was pretty much a lot quicker. But yeah, I just can't believe it's so funny looking at not just your films, but other films, the translations and having to change the name just because it's in a different country. It must drive you crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing because they're clearly just trying to find a way to sell it, and they've looked at the cost and they've gone, I don't know how to sell this, so they've simply tried to make it look like the kind of movie it's not. They want to make it look like a cheap exploitation revenge thriller, which ironically is the opposite of the film I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Which just and so you just would go, you didn't even watch the film, did you? You inherited it, you bought it, and you're just trying to figure out how can I sell this thing. I know I'll just repackage it and try to sell it as something that it's not. Which is very frustrating. But again, they're not those kind of people. They're not here for the integrity of the art or for the filmmaker's vision. They're there to make a buck, and if that's the way they can fool someone into watching it, they'll do it. What can you do? Yeah, it's just the way it goes. I just hope that those people who watched it, unfortunately, what that does is I think, and I found this with Fear Below too, because the poster art, for the most part, that distributors have made for Fear Below has been diabolical AI poster art.
Yeah,
and they always make it a great white. They make it the size of a megalodon, and I just think you're selling the film to the wrong audience here. I think Fear Below is the kind of shark film that people who generally don't like schlocky shark films will like. And the schlocky shark film lovers probably are going to find Fear Below a little not violent enough. There's not enough shark in it, and it's not schlocky enough. So they're selling it to the wrong crowd, which to me is a really dumb thing to do. And that's kind of what they did with The Cost when they rebranded it like that. They're selling so the people who would enjoy a film like The Cost, which is a bit more, a bit more of a study of human psychology and less about schlocky violence, well, they're going to look at that poster and go, oh, I'm not going to watch that. So I think it's very important that your cover really sells the intention of the filmmaker. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why The Village, the M. Night Shyamalan film, The Village, I think that is one of Shyamalan's best movies.
100%.
And I think it's a gorgeous, excellent, wonderful film that has got so much to say, and it tells it in such an interesting way. But they sold it as a horror film with a twist, and it's not. It's a meditation on the effects of grief. And therefore for all these years now it's considered one of Shyamalan's worst films. Oh, what pathetic, bad twist, no horror, because they sold it wrong. They shouldn't have sold it as that, and so I think they got the wrong crowd in. So 100%. It's one of those things,
and that's not doing anyone any favors. Misrepresentation of the actual film, because the people that it's meant for are not going to watch it, like you say, or they might and not initially watch it and wait for more information, and then the people that are going to watch it are not going to like it, and therefore not going to give it low reviews, and therefore that does nothing to help the actual film grow.
That's right. It's almost a counterintuitive approach, but they think that that's the right way to go, and it's really stupid. So what are you going to do? But like I said, these people are not filmmakers; they're accountants and and distributors, and they've got a whole different way of thinking about it. So, but anyway, that's all stuff out of my control. Out of my wheelhouse. So I just have to try to in the future try to manage things a little bit better. and try to work with the distributors that believe in what I'm trying to do and will sell the film in the right way. I think at least with the Legend of Ben Hall, it was sold correctly.
Yeah.
It was presented as for what it was. Um, but
Definitely.
yeah, but with the Cost and Fear Below, I tried to do something different in those genres, and it ended up getting sold as the thing I was
Yeah.
trying to be different at.
Yeah.
So. But because I think as a filmmaker, I should be trying to do something different. If it's not, if it's
Yeah.
like something you've seen before, then why would I do that?
Yeah.
Why would I want to make that if someone's already done that better and done it to satisfactorily? There's no reason for me to do it. And as a filmmaker, I'm always looking for, even as a film consumer, I'm looking for films that are told in interesting and new ways because I've seen so many. I'm always looking for something new and different. So when creating movies, I'm always thinking, wow, that's different, that's new and exciting. But we live in this world now that doesn't want new and exciting. It wants something risk adverse, something that
Yeah.
is dependable, something that's part of an ongoing IP, something that can be, something that's very familiar. And so all we do is recycle everything, and now we'll just go, oh, well, can we set Frankenstein in the modern world? Can we
Yeah.
take Mary Poppins and put it in some other thing? And, it's
Yeah.
just constant recycling. And I think it's, leading to the death of creativity.
Yeah. Which is funny because one, you think studios would want to make money because every time I see that a filmmaker takes a risk and they put a film out there, the audience loves it. So it's
Yeah,
like, if you want to make money, take some risks.
that's right. That's right. But it's, yeah, but they don't, they refuse to.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that Fear Below was one of the only movies that ever got fully financed of mine from the start, and I didn't have to claw it to the finish line through crowdfunding and
Mm.
volunteer filmmakers and everything, was because it was a shark movie. It
Yeah.
sort of walked off the shelf. All I had to do is say I've got a script and it's a shark movie and it's got some kills in it, and it was not virtually greenlit, but boom, it got funded.
You
Because
should
it, yeah,
you should put a shark in every movie you do, but like just in the background, just say it's got a shark in it, and
yeah,
like,
it's a
just have
shark film, and then just so it's got the
like
shark scene in it, and they just never film it, and then
yeah,
just
Yep.
but I got my
or
money.
or just start off at a beach, a shark goes past, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's one of those things, or put a zombie in it. That's a pretty
Yeah,
popular type. That's a pretty popular genre right now. Everything's a zombie film. So,
yeah,
mm.
I'm over. I'm literally me being a massive horror fan. I am. I cannot stand zombies anymore. The Walking Dead I never finished The Walking Dead. The only good um of that kind of genre, and they're not actually zombies, was the 28 years later movies that have come out. They were really good. But
Yeah, I
other
like
than that,
them.
everything's just rubbish. Like
yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's
yeah.
been it's
I could
been
talk
played
about
out.
but we're not going.
It's been done. It's been done to death, shall we say?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That
100% about it.
udder has been milked dry.
Yeah,
So leave it alone for
yeah,
30 years and wait for a new generation.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah.
yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
So
so
let's destroy some of the movie magic. How in Fear Below, how did you make them underwater, like
uh
without them drowning?
yeah. Well, knowing when I was writing the story, I was writing it always thinking, how am I going to pull this off? Because when you make a movie with water, you are inviting, and anyone who's ever studied James Cameron's The Abyss or Jaws
Hmm.
or Waterworld or Hard Rain, they all any movie that when you start dealing with water, you are in for a hell of a time, and you are in for a huge expense. And I knew this would never be a big budget movie ever. So I simply just looked into the past and how they did things in the past, and I just went, well, we're going to use the dry for wet technique, which is just filming through smoke, heavy smoke, which, when photographed and lit properly, smoke replicates the look of water,
Hmm.
of being underwater, behaves in very much the same way photographically. So that this technique has been used since forever. It's an very old technique. The Abyss used it for all their underwater or the underwater models of their little mobiles going over the sunken submarine, and lots of films have used the dry for wet technique. Even the Lord of the Rings has used it when, like, Sam in the Fellowship of the Ring, he's drowning under the water and he's trying to
Oh,
reach
wow.
up. That was all shot dry for wet. And they just add the bubbles and everything afterwards.
Wow.
So it's a great technique, but it's not particularly good if you've got hair, because hair underwater will do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But all the Aquaman movies were shot dry for wet.
Yeah?
And yep, and
Wow.
Yeah.
anytime they're underwater, they just digitally made their
Yeah.
hair do that. But because I was going to have guys in big diving suits and they
Yeah.
didn't need to swim, they would be walking
Yeah.
on the bottom. It was perfect. So
Yeah.
all we did was we built a stage. We got a stage, and we dressed it up to look like a riverbed with dirt and fallen trees. And then we just sort of gave the actors a bit of, we just gave them a little bit of training on how to walk, to make it look like they're wearing very, very heavy suits.
Yeah.
And then we filmed it at about 30, somewhere between, depending on what the action was, we filmed it between 28 frames and 34 frames a second, which is much faster. So when we played it back, they appeared in slow motion, which looked like that they were dealing with the pressure of water, and moving their hands through water took a bit more time, and so on, as water is. And that way we could film all our underwater scenes essentially in a Smoky Down soundstage, and we could churn out scenes with no danger. There was no one had to wear oxygen. There was no divers. There was no safety, because there was nothing. So we got through a lot of filming that way very, very easily. And then we simply added the bubbles coming out of their helmets. We simply added them in post-production, and added a bit of water sediment floating and things like that, just to complete the illusion. And then once you slap the sound on top, no one knows the difference.
You fooled me.
Yeah, it's a great technique, and I even don't think that we did it as good as we could have done it. But we were under a lot of time pressure on that film, so we didn't even get to play with it to the extent that we knew we could. We could have made it look even more convincing, if we simply had more time. But even in its basic form that we did, it's still convincing. So, but it took me a long time to convince producers that this was going to work, because when all I had the script and they said, "Well, how are we going to do all the underwater stuff?" I told them what I just told you, and they just looked at me like, "That's not going to work." And I said, "Trust me, it'll work. It will really work." And they didn't believe me. And certainly all the distributors and people who were buying the film, when they heard that, they didn't believe it either. And I said, so we actually went out and shot a test. We hired a studio, got a suit. I wore the suit. And Peter lit it, and then we filled it with smoke, and we pulled off the test and showed it to them. And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we get it." So, you have to hold their hand sometimes.
Yeah.
Trusting the filmmaker seems to be something lost, but anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
And is it true that
Wow.
it was pretty much all practical effects? Like, did you?
Yeah, it's like 95% practical effects. The shark, it wasn't hugely successful. There was a lot more shark action in the script. If you were to read the original screenplay and what we intended to do, there's a lot more shark in it. It gets seen more, it has more interactions. We had to cut big parts of the script out because of time, and we didn't have the time or the budget to pull it off. But it was it was mostly practical, and it was a combination of a full-scale shark, a full-scale shark head, a tail, a fin, but we also used miniatures as well. We had a shark that was about this big. We had little divers that were about this big, and we puppeteered them. And so, every time the camera's cutting to something else, you're looking at a slightly different technique, and putting it all together, it was it's kind of seamless. There were only a few shots we couldn't pull off that way. Again, just due to budget and time and so on, that we had to resort to a digital shark, which I think was just a scan of the model shark, and then they just used some digital some simple digital animation techniques to just, maneuver it and so on. So, but there were very few of them, very few. It's like 6 shots that are digital.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's quite grounded in practical. There's very, 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 very little digital.
I love practical. I just love it.
Yeah, it's a good it's just because it's something photographed, and it's always a good place to start. Start with something that's being photographed, and you'll get a better result, I think. So, and that's the world I knew. It's what I grew up in. It's what I understand with my animation background. I don't immediately run to digital. You can always do digital later, but always try to do it practically first, I think, if you can. Yeah. So yeah, it is good that most people, whenever they've seen the costs and they've asked how I did it, nobody ever spots the trick of the dry for wet. They all think it was being shot underwater. And I think that's just because the audience accept what you're telling them,
Mm-hmm.
They tell you it. You as the filmmaker say this is underwater, and they don't have any reason not to believe you if it looks authentic. So
100%. I purposely didn't tell my wife that it was, that not, it wasn't filmed underwater. We watched the movie, and then I said, "Oh, what did you think of, the underwater stuff?" And she said, "Oh, it was just." She goes, "I'm sitting there trying to work out, how they were able to get those shots done." And I said, "Would you believe it if I told you that they were not one person got wet while they were filming the underwater thing?" And she's like, "No," and I said, "No, it's true. It's true. They did. I didn't know what the technique was called, but I knew you had the studio set up because I'd seen it on Facebook, and that you were filming when you were filming it at the time." And I said, "Yes, not a single drop of water." And that was, yeah. She couldn't tell, and she has ADHD, so she hyperfixates on things. So she will tell you if something doesn't look like
it doesn't look right. Good. It's a good litmus test.
And, exactly. I love them. That's one good thing about her ADHD. She will let me know when something doesn't look like it should, and she didn't pick it up. So it's very well. Such a good.
It's kind of like it's the same principle as why would you film in outer space? It's too hostile, it's too dangerous, it's too expensive. So you just build a moon set and you make it look like it's in outer space. It's the same kind of principle. Why would you film underwater if you don't need to? So it's we did do a little bit of filming underwater though. At the end of the movie when the characters are swimming underwater and they don't have their suits on anymore and they're just swimming for their lives trying to stay out underwater because the guy's on the top with the boat, that was shot underwater.
Oh, okay.
That was not dry for wet because again, how do you suspend somebody in a smoky room and get their hair? That was shot underwater, but it was shot in a swimming pool, like a swimming like the kind of swimming pool you would get in a backyard. Wasn't very. It was only a few meters long. It was just a cylinder, and all we did was covered the sides with dark material, and then we filled it with a dye, like a color dye, to make it look like the river color. We poured in about 12 boxes of almond milk to make it cloudy. Wow. And then we just let the sun come through the top, and the actor could swim, probably 3 or 4 strokes before he got to the other side. And we would just have a cameraman sitting at the bottom of the pool, which was about that deep, just sitting at the bottom filming them. And we were able to do all that stuff, in the safety of a swimming pool in the back lot of the studio.
Wow.
And it's very simple and very, very easy. And we shot a lot of shark in there as well. We had the little model shark about that big. We were just on a rod and we were just moving him through the frame and swirling him around like this and having him pass the camera, and he was just on a rod. And we just let gravity make his tail do that, So real cheap and easy techniques to do, but you'd just think it was in a river.
And 100%.
And that's just because we were able to not a tiny little swimming pool, and that's just good lighting and good planning. So.
Wow, that's insane. But it's good. It's such a good. It's always such a good conversation with you because I learned so much about the movies that we love. And I would never have expected that I know which scene you're talking about, the very end of the movie, and that I wouldn't be able to say that was filmed in a swimming pool, with in a pool with color dye and almond milk and
Yeah.
with all the rest of it. That's insane. Like I
Yeah.
love learning. I'm such a movie nerd. I love learning all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's always just about and I think that is what coming from an independent filmmaking background does, because you don't have all the money and you don't have all the to just throw at every solution, because that's what how Hollywood does. They've got the money to just put everything in a volume screen, do digital, whatever. Um, you simply have to solve a problem practically. How do I get around that? How do I achieve that with no money? And it was just that was what me and my production designer had to do. We just thought, okay, we can't film in a real river, um, and we can't, and we've got such a little amount of money. Can we achieve it in a tiny pool? And we thought, well, yeah, because in a river you shouldn't be able to see more than a few feet ahead of you anyway.
No,
So
exactly.
if we can
Yeah.
simply make it dark enough down here and cloudy enough and the right color, there's no reason this shouldn't work. So, but how to make it cloudy? We just started throwing ideas, and then it just hit me, and I said, well, what about milk? You know, we need it to look milky. Let's use milk. And we said, well, we can't use cattle like cow milk because that would go off. And we're like, let's
Yeah.
try soy. So we just bought oat, almond, and soy, and we did a test in an aquarium, and just saw what gave us the best result. And in the end, it was the almond that just behaved better than all the others. And so every day, slabs of almond milk would come out for the truck, and we just spend the morning squeezing the almond milk into the pool, and then stir it all up, and then right, actors, you're in. So
Almond
yeah,
bath.
yeah, it smelt a bit funny. It was a bit strange, but it's not toxic. So
Yeah.
yeah, so tricks of the trade.
There you go. There you go.
One thing that we did do, one thing that we noticed about, and again, this is about paying attention to detail. In reality, when you wear those diving suits, the air is not just in your helmet, the air is in your entire suit. Now, when you go underwater, air wants to rise. So what we noticed is when we looked at real footage of divers underwater, their diving suit like sucked to their legs like this. It just really went tight around their legs like that. And all the air went up to the top of their diving suit and made their arms buoyant and puffy, because all the air was going up to the top of their suit and made them look all fat up here and all stuck on their legs. So I told the costume designer to cover their make a trouser leg covered in Velcro that they could wear under the suit. And then when they put the suit on, it had the opposite part of the Velcro, and then we could stick that to their legs. So it looked like it was hugging their legs tight.
Wow.
And then we created these pillowy cushion things that they put on, like these Michelin Man arms with all these cushion bits of like cotton that they would put on that, and then they would put their suit on, and it just puffed up their suit. And then whenever they were walking and acting, I said, remember, always with your arms, keep them up like this. Always have, if you're walking along, your arms will naturally do this. They're not going to be like this. You're always going to have this natural look. So if you watch the film again, whenever they're walking along, you'll see all the actors with their arms up like this. And it's just, again, to create and with the puffy, upper arms. And that's all just to subconsciously, even though the audiences don't understand it, they still think that, okay, there's something real about this. It doesn't look like they are just people wearing rubber suits in the fog. It looks like divers underwater, and and physics is working in the way it should. So it was all those little details that we really, really tried to hone in on to make it real.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That's so good.
Well, as much as we could talk about sharks all day, let's move on to, why you're here, the Sundowner.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Like, get us excited so we can give you money for it.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, I think the Sundowner was a bit of a reaction to Fear Below, because I had a very hard time making that film. It was a very, 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 very difficult production to make. The film did not turn out the way that I wanted. It's only really 60%. For me, it's only
Mm.
60% of what I was trying to achieve. There was a much, much better film on the page, and it should have been that, and the film was only 60% of that. So I apologize, I couldn't quite get that film out. But it was the Sundowner was very much a reaction to because I that was a film I made for the market. The market wanted a shark film, so I
Yeah.
made a shark film, and I had a terrible time making
Yeah.
it. So
Mm.
I thought, you know what? If I'm going to go and make another movie and and raise the money myself and slog it out and do it, make it for free and not get paid to make it, it has to be something I really, really care about, and I have to maintain control of the project from the beginning. Because one of the biggest problems with Fear Below was I lost control. I
Mm.
wasn't in charge.
Yeah.
So I was beholden to people telling me what I could and couldn't do. So I thought I'm going to wipe the slate clean. I've got to get that taste of Fear Below out of my mouth, and I have to return back to my roots and make something I care about
Yeah.
and keep control. And so I wrote a story that I was just very passionate about. I didn't care about the market. I didn't care whether the marketplace wanted this. I was like, nah, what's the story I'm passionate about? So it was just there was an actor called Joshua Jager who's been in
Yep.
lots of my films that we've been wanting to make a film together for years. I moved back to South Australia, and it was simply, right, Josh, we're going to make that movie that we've always been talking about. You're going to be the lead, and then I work with Aidan Phelan, a writer I often work with, especially on bushranger stuff. Um, we just worked together to create this story, and we didn't know how we were going to finance it, but we wrote it, started planning for it, and we started getting interest from private investors and just to give us enough
Yep.
money to go out and start filming it. And we filmed for a couple of weeks and we got 25% of the film done. And then we raised a bit more money and we went out a few months later and shot a few more weeks. And now we're at 80%. The film's 80% complete. And we've just got to find the money now to shoot the final 20,
Mm.
25%, which is the most expensive stuff. We left the
Yeah.
hardest to last, but we figured that if we get the 80% out first, it would help us find the money for the last
Mm.
20. And it seems to be working. But yeah, it's a story of it's set in the 1930s in the Depression era. It's about a swag man who is trying to survive in that time period on the back roads of South Australia, and his life becomes embroiled with the people he meets on the road, and through a series of unfortunate circumstances, he ends up becoming a fugitive, like an outlaw, and and the law's coming after him, and so it's a bit of a western in a way, but it's sort of a bit of a study on this man's mental. He's an old war veteran. He's sort of been abandoned by society. And so it's a bit of a study of what happens when someone is, outcast by society and, prejudice and social, pressures and everything are on him and sort of showing the deterioration of somebody in that kind of situation. So, yeah, it's very much a character-driven film.
Mm.
Hopefully in the same sort of vein as Ben Hall, there's a lot of, you notice it looked like Ben Hall on steroids. There's a
Yeah.
lot of Ben Hall DNA in it, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Definitely.
yeah, I noticed the cinematography straight away. I mean, again, it's the same guy you work with, um, and it just looked epic. Like I showed the 40-second kind of teaser to my
Yeah.
parents the other night, and they're going like, "That looks." Oh, I think my mum said, "Oh, it looks like it's going to be brutal." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly brutal. It's probably going to be a little similar to the proposition.
Mm.
Okay.
So it'll have a little. It had some elements of that, though probably not as harsh. Have you seen the longer 2-minute version of the trailer?
I don't think so. I just saw the one that came up on Facebook the other day.
If you go to the Australian Cultural Fund page, you can see the 2-minute version of
I think I'll do that right when no, I'll see you guys. No.
it.
No, yeah, I'll watch it. I'll watch it right after.
Yeah, that I made the 40-second cut down for social media, but that has a 2-minute version that shows you a
Mm,
lot more footage. But yeah, it is brutal, but there's also we're trying to make something both beautiful and brutal. So there's
yeah.
a lot of elements in it that are very very beautiful, like both in characters and cinematography,
Yeah.
but there's also a brutality to it as well. So, but it's being made completely with volunteers. All our crew are just we're out there making this for the love of it. It's all coming from passion. We're spending with very little money on it. We just spend on what we need. We pay for fuel and costs and food and travel and all that sort of stuff and accommodation. And we just go out there and we just piece by piece put it all together. So, but it's coming up really nicely. And yeah, I think it's going to be, yeah, I think it's probably going to be one of my favorite films of mine that I've made. Of all the films I've made, The Cost for me is the film that I'm the most proud of because it's the most personal and it's the film that I feel that I stand by everything in it.
Yeah.
Because I had control of the film from start to finish. I lost a little control on Ben Hall, and I certainly lost a lot of control on Fear Below. But I think on Sundowner, I'll see this one through to the end, and I think it's going to be the best. I think it'll be the best work I've done. So I'm hoping it'll help me get to film number 6.
Yeah. It'll just remember to send it to straight to France and Germany, and
Yep.
yeah,
And we should be fine.
you should be fine.
Yeah. Well, we'll hopefully maybe we might be able to get it to play in Cannes somewhere. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
But I do know there is a film festival in France called the Antipodes or something.
Yeah.
And I think they've taken almost every film I've done. Yeah, because they love Australian cinema there. So yeah, so that's the Sundowner.
Yeah.
So, for example, say everything goes well and you get the funding that you need to shoot the last section of it in the next few months. Do you have a proposed release date, or is this just going to be we're just going to see how it goes and take the time and are you going to take your time with this, or is it something you're like, okay, once it's made and post-production's done, we just want to get it out for people to look at?
It's hard to say. It's one of those films that it's hard to predict how it's going to go, but we're very much following the good, cheap, fast triangle. You can't have all three, so you choose the two that you're most important. We want it to be good, and we have to do it cheap. This means it's not going to be fast, so it's going to take time. And we anticipate that we'll finish the rest of the filming before the end of the year. And then we'll do post-production next year, in the first part of next year, and it'll probably get released sometime in the last half of 2027.
Awesome.
So we probably won't see it for another year or so, a completed film. So yeah, it'll take a bit of time, but I think it'll be worth it because we're trying to do it right, and we're trying to make sure. And one of the things that I said to Pete, because one of the things that Pete and I really struggled with making Fear Below was that we've always felt it could have looked a lot better than it did. But we were rushed. We were so rushed that we could never light it as well as we wanted to. And we had to just compromise the way we filmed it. If you look at the storyboards that I had and then you look at the final film, they're quite different. And so we always felt we could do better. So what we promised ourselves with the Sundowner is we're gonna film it the way we want to, and we're gonna make sure we get every shot the way we want it to look. And we're not shooting with 2 cameras. We very rarely shoot with 2 cameras. So every shot's being specifically lit for that shot. And so we're taking that kind of care with the Sundowner to make sure that every shot is something the way we want it to be. And we're not compromising on that. We're not rushing on that. And we can give ourselves that because we've got the control and we're taking our time. So I think that's going to pay off in the final film. You're going to see a film that looks like every shot, every performance, all the lighting is very intentional and has been made with a lot of care.
It's great. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think expect to see it sometime after mid next year. We're hoping we can get a film festival to take it, like the Adelaide Film Festival or something like that, to something prestigious that will take it.
Yeah. But you'd want to hope so. I think it's filmed in, like South Australia. You think they'd want...
That's right. So we've got conversations ongoing with them, and we'll just keep those conversations going, and hopefully something will happen. So yeah, it should be. But for this year, we've got like I said, I've got that film, The Far End of the Sea,
Mm.
that's coming out. That's a short feature. It's about 52 minutes long,
Oh,
and that's coming out. Well, it premieres in May on Nauru, but I don't know when it's going to get released to the rest of the world. We'll probably do some film festivals first.
yeah. And that's got Jamie Coffer in it.
It does, and it
Yeah.
was actually written by Jamie Coffer.
Seriously. Wow.
Yeah, he's got a personal connection to Nauru. He grew up there, and he wrote a script, uh, Far End of the Sea, and a couple of years ago he gave it to me to read, and he said, "If I ever get the money to make this, would you direct it for me?"
Mm.
So I said, "Of course." And then it's up my alley, period movie, and he went off and he got the money. He found the financing for it through the Nauruan government. They saw it as a great cultural
Yeah.
piece, and they got the finance for it. And so he got me and Peter and all the usual, and Ronnie Minder to do the score,
Yeah.
all the usual suspects, and we went to Nauru for a couple of weeks and we shot this movie. Which was a great experience, and if you've seen the trailer, you can
Yeah.
you can see the Pete's cinematography once
Yeah.
again shining through, and yeah, it was a nice little side project to do in the meantime. So
Yeah. So was it his idea to shave his head? Because he had wonderful hair in Ben Hall. So
yeah, well, that's just the way Jamie's hair is now. He just
yeah.
he just he just shaves his head.
Yeah.
So
He got sick of the the long
of
hair.
of the long locks. So no, it was yeah, that was yeah, that's just the way Jamie is now. He just doesn't have the big head of hair from Ben
Yeah.
Hall anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's been 10 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, over 10 years. I mean, we
Jeez.
started filming in 2014, so yeah,
Well,
it's
Wow.
well over 10 years ago. So the film's getting, yeah, it's coming up to its 10-year anniversary.
that's amazing. You got any special plans for that, or?
I've tried to get the distributor to get into it. Like, can we do a special 10-year release? Can we
Hmm.
maybe do something else, release some of the, do a new edition, put some deleted scenes in there? They're not
No,
interested.
no.
Wow.
Not interested.
Insane.
Well, I think there's been always been a tension with Bushranger movies, hasn't there? Like, I mean,
Yeah, they're
like,
very hard to get financed.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I keep trying. I've got Bushrangers TV series and
Hmm.
the Ned Kelly films, and I've got piles of them, all wanting
Yeah.
to be made, but no one wants to touch them.
It's just it makes like it's weird because like we have the first full length feature film of all time, don't we?
Yeah,
Like it's a Ned
yeah,
Kelly movie, and
that's
that went
right.
nuts for it, and then suddenly poof, gone.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
like
And I think there would be an appetite if only someone would finance them properly.
yeah,
I think the only Bushranger film that's ever truly been financed properly was The Proposition.
mm,
But it was not accessible enough to the mainstream for it to truly break through. It's a wonderful
yeah,
film. It's a beautiful film. I love it. I got nothing bad to say about it, but it was not mainstream enough for it to break through.
yeah,
And even though I think my film was mainstream enough, it didn't break through because it was so low budget and we didn't have any major stars in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it was never going to break through like that. And I just sort of wish that if someone would just give me a decent enough budget and give me some stars, I just
yeah,
know it could break through, and I
yeah,
know we could get people to go, "Wow, that was
yeah,
fun, that was cool." But I can't make people give me money.
yeah,
I'd love to,
yeah,
but I can't.
yeah,
I just use the force on them,
yeah. Yeah, we would.
but I
Um,
can't. I can't get them to do that. So I have to be patient and
uh,
try to figure out ways to do it myself. I mean, that's the thing with the same with the Sundowner. The movie, like I often say that the Legend of Ben Hall really shouldn't exist.
mm,
There's no logical reason why the Legend of Ben Hall exists. People like Russell Crowe and Sam Worthington have tried to get a Ben Hall movie made,
yeah.
and they couldn't do it.
Wow.
Um, for whatever reason, I don't know what their reasons, but I know that they tried. And how did the Ben Hall come into existence? I still wonder how it did, but it came into existence because of determination and a lot of the audience who put forward that
Yeah.
Kickstarter money and good timing and things like that. But it shouldn't really exist. And the Sundowner I find is the same. There's no way no one, if I had just written a Sundowner and presented it, no one would ever finance this movie. And so I find that the Sundowner is a bit of an act of defiance. It's like, I'm going to make it anyway. I'm going
Yeah.
to make this thing become real, because I think it should be real. Even if the market is rejecting it, once they see it, they'll go, "Ah, okay, yeah, that's why it should exist."
Yeah.
But that's the struggle. I mean, no one wanted Star Wars. No one wanted
Yeah.
Rambo. No one wanted
Mhm.
Predator. Nobody wanted any of these films when they
Yeah.
first started. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I take comfort in those things.
Yeah. I think it was the same thing was even with when Bill Lawrence was trying to pitch Scrubs. No one would take it. They go, I don't know what you want, and then the channel that took it, and then it exploded, and everyone that turned it down went, oh, now I see what you're trying to do,
Yeah.
and they all regretted it, you know. So,
Yeah. Well, how many studios did Peter Jackson take Lord of the Rings to before?
yeah,
And all the majors, all of them turned it down. Yeah. And I think that's the big difference between movies that become classics and that are truly great, as opposed to movies that always end up disappointing. And I think the Lord of the Rings is a classic case study of this theory. And this theory is when a filmmaker truly believes in a movie and is
hmm.
fighting to get it made, and there is constant rejection. No, 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 we don't want it. We don't want it. But somehow they get it across the line and they make it. And then, wow, boom, it's great. It's fantastic. And it becomes a classic like RoboCop and
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
things like that. But there's always this big thing of non-belief, but the creator and the filmmaker pushes through. When the studio asks for it, so the studio wanted the Hobbit movies
yeah,
because they saw how much, and so they pushed for the Hobbit films. They
yeah,
pushed for it to be made. They were the ones who were writing the filmmakers, make this, make this, make this, please make this. And then look what happened with the Hobbit films.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah,
They were not coming from, they weren't coming from the filmmaker out. They were
yeah,
coming from the studio
yeah,
that way. And so
Mhm.
I find anytime, and it's the same with all the Star Wars movies. They're now coming from that way. They're coming
yeah,
from the studio out. They're not coming from the
yeah,
filmmaker out. And I find the most interesting stuff comes from the filmmaker out. That's why
yeah,
I think the new Dune movies are so good, because they are coming from, the director's passion, and that's what's really driving it. I mean, they didn't greenlit all three. They waited to see how the first one was going to do.
yeah,
And then they didn't greenlit the next two. They just waited to see how the second one was going to do. So clearly the studios are playing it safe.
yeah,
And they don't, they're letting him have his way, but they're not in full, they don't fully believe yet. But then probably what will
Yeah,
happen
exactly.
is the third one will be this monstrous success.
yeah,
Denny will move on, and then the studio will go, "We want more Jude movies."
yeah,
And then those ones will suck.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
always keep it going from the filmmaker out.
yeah.
If it's their passion, you're probably gonna see something pretty special, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've always said. That's why a lot of independent films are so good
Mm.
Mhm.
because it comes from passion. You know, yeah, because we even had some other filmmakers on recently, maybe the last couple of months or so. Probably a genre you don't like, but they made a zombie movie,
Oh yeah.
which is not typical zombies.
Yep.
And very a lot of passion, a lot of drive. Um, and it's really good. Just
Yeah.
doing something differently.
Well, that I think is what people connect to is passion,
Yeah,
not cynicism. I don't think people get attached. I think studios come from there's a sense of there's a cynical nature. They're not really respecting the audience. They're
mm,
just this is what I think they want, and I'll just repackage something again. Um, whereas, I think people who have a story they want to tell, they're passionate about their film. I think audiences connect to it. They get it.
yeah,
That's the pixie dust that
yeah,
makes a film special when there's that true belief behind it, rather than that cold, cynical corporate machine that's just going, I think this is what you want, you know?
Oh, exactly. It was the first, like I said, aside from the 28 years later films, it was the first zombie film that I enjoyed,
Yeah,
and
same here.
it was just, yeah, I'm. There's certain ways, like you were saying, with the passion behind the writers and the directors and the producers, wanting to get their story told. 100% that will win me over, even if I haven't seen a single frame of a trailer.
Mm.
I will be like, okay, I need to see this film because it's someone's passion project. Same
Yeah.
with books. Same with books and TV shows. If it's someone's passion project and they've worked so hard on getting it through to the studios and getting it made, I know it's going to be good before I even watch a single frame of it.
Yeah.
And
And I think that's even that principle we even see working in bad movies like who's that filmmaker in America? He makes Neil Breen. Ever heard of Neil Breen?
Can't
I
say
don't
I
think I
have.
have.
Okay, well, look,
Use the Google.
his films aren't good. He's like one of those so bad he's good kind of filmmakers. A Las Vegas guy, and he just funds his and makes his own movies. He stars in them, directs them, produces them, does everything. They're terrible, but they've got a cult following, a big cult following, and it's like, how do you end up with a cult following of such bad movies? And it's because he genuinely believes in them. They are coming from a place of passion. He's not coldly cynically making bad
Mm.
films. He actually believes in what he's doing. And even though he's not achieving greatness and that the films are laughably bad, I think
Mm.
people are connecting to the fact that someone is genuinely behind this and genuinely thinks this is good. That's what makes it funny, but it's also what makes it very appealing. So I think that principle works even if the film's bad, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
But if it's just being made by like what's that studio that just make genuinely shit movies, but they know it. Asylum, you know,
Yeah.
they just make the bad films, but they know they're making bad films, and they don't even try to hide it. They just pump them out, make a buck, and move on. Those films will never be anything because they are not coming from belief. They know they're
Mm.
stupid. They know they're garbage, but this guy doesn't know it's garbage and believes in it 100%. So I think that passion, you know, on that end of the scale and on the big end of the scale, I think
Mm.
that's why I think that's why it works. I think that's why the early Marvel films are really
Yeah,
good, and why the new stuff isn't, because they still had something to prove.
Yeah.
It was still you know, people didn't believe in Robert Downey Jr. And you know, and they had to pull that off, and they genuinely, passionately felt this was something good. But the world was like, Iron Man, you know, get lost.
Yeah.
But you know, now they can't throw enough money at Downey Jr.
Yeah.
and the films aren't getting any better for it.
Yeah. It's
no.
good.
I remember when Iron Man came out, I had to convince my friends to go with me to see it, and they're like, "I'm not. I don't want to go and see a movie about a guy in an iron suit." I said, "No, come on, trust me." Being
Mm.
the comic nerd I was, I said it's going to be good. And then now it's the opposite. Like some other people I know are like they're trying to convince people to go to the new Marvel movies, but the difference is when I saw the first Iron Man movie and that, I'll never forget the post-credit scene with Samuel L. Jackson. I want to talk to you about the Avengers project,
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. That was like, for me, goosebumps. But
Mm.
now I go to the Marvel movies because I am a sucker and I cannot not.
Obligation.
I've invested so much time and effort and money into Marvel Cinematic Universe. I just have to see them. And but yeah, there's nothing is ever going to be as good as the first, say, 5-10 years of Marvel movies.
No, that was their golden period. I mean, I remember watching Iron Man going, "Oh, this is probably gonna suck," you know, but what, I'll give it a go, and walking out going, "Man, that was good. Like
Yeah.
that was really
Mm-hmm.
good." Like,
Yeah.
you know, just and then when you tell people, "Have you seen Iron Man?" and they go, "Oh, no," and you're like, No, it's actually really good. Like,
Yeah,
I think good does rise to the surface eventually.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
good films always do. They just take
Well,
a lot of time. So
yeah. Well, I've always liked John Favreau, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Favreau,
no,
yeah,
he's
Favreau,
yeah.
John Favreau.
Favreau.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
interesting to see his rise from the indie filmmaker of the
yeah,
90s with, Swingers
yeah,
and stuff,
Yeah.
to the Hollywood juggernaut. But I still think he's better when he's making films that he truly cares about, like
yeah,
Chef and movies like that.
yeah. Chef was good. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
he's
but I still reckon the greatest thing he ever did was when he pulled off Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian season 2.
oh
Because
yeah.
Mhm.
because he told everyone, he told all the studio heads it wasn't Luke Skywalker, it was some other character. And they smuggled
Okay.
him onto set in a cloak, you know. And
Right.
apparently he gets away with it, and the studio was furious.
Oh wow.
Like, they're going like he snuck in what the fans wanted, you know.
Well, good on him
Yeah,
because they seem to not want to give the fans what they want.
yeah. It's ridiculous.
They seem to be constantly trying to give them what we don't want, which again is that weird counterintuitive.
Mm.
Don't you want to just give
But
them what they want?
And then you get money, you know.
Yeah, I
You're
know. Like,
like
you do you not like money?
like
Yeah.
well, I think they're just playing off people like me who, they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like if we make this Star Wars movie and it's rubbish, people are still going to pay to see it once, and
Yeah.
that's enough for us. They're not
so
like
dumb.
we want people to see this. I can't remember the last time I saw a movie at the cinema more than once, and I used to do that all the time. I
Mm.
saw Iron Man 3 times. I saw, all the early Marvel ones. I saw at least twice. But I can't remember the last. And I go to the movies every week. It's not like I don't have the opportunity. I go literally every Saturday. I go to the movie. So I would happily see a movie that I love twice.
Yeah,
But it's been so long since I've been able to
Yeah.
do that, and I think it's exactly what you're saying about studios. They're not giving people what they want. They're
yeah,
just doing it. We'll make the basic money. We don't care if people don't see it more than once. And yeah,
Yeah. No, they're not going for the repeat value, are they?
no,
But it's costing them,
yeah,
and it's never been a harder time to be a filmmaker than it is now, and the industry is falling apart. The golden age of streaming and television is over. Budgets are being slashed. There's so many people in the
yeah,
industry out of work at the moment. I notice it everywhere. I see, people I talk to it's so hard. So yeah, I don't know what the future holds for films, whether we can come out of this slump and how, because I truly believe that streaming killed movies
yeah,
and has made it very, very hard for films to be monetized now, and therefore very hard to be financed because there's no way to
yeah,
make money because streaming killed it. The streaming model
yeah,
killed it. So it's going to be a rough few years ahead for filmmakers, and I certainly know that I can't just keep going and making volunteer movies all the time.
yeah,
So I've often it's one of the other things that with the Sundowner is that I also thought looking at how the industry is now and how hard it is, and the so many years I've been trying to get films financed and haven't, that I just thought there is the potential that the Sundowner will be my last movie.
mm,
That's a potential. So that was another reason I chose to do this story, is because if this is going to be what I go out on, if this is going to be the last film I make,
yeah,
it has to be something that is really is about me. It's
yeah,
about what I've got to say. It's the kind of cinema I want to make.
yeah,
Um, so, and that's why I feel that it's probably going to be my best film because it's being made very much with that potential reality in mind. This could be my last round.
yeah,
So, I hope it's not, but all I know is I'm not doing it this way ever again. I'm not going off and
yeah,
doing it for free again.
yeah.
So if no one pays for no, if no one finances any of my films again, I'll never make another one. And so this is it could be my last. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
When you say that, not like I think a lot of people say that, and then it becomes the one that launches their career or something.
Yeah.
Like so you never know.
Well,
You
you
never
never
know.
know. You never know.
But
But that's the gauntlet I've thrown down,
yeah,
and I'll stick to it.
yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
No, I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to show everybody. I'm very proud of what we've achieved so far. I think it'll surprise people. The performances have been fantastic. I think Josh Jager is going to blow people away with what he's doing with the character and the role, and and it's just different to I can't give you a movie that it's like, you know.
Well, that's a good thing.
It's just it's its own weird thing, you know. It's its own thing. It's kind of a Western, but it's not. It's kind of a period drama, but it's not. It's kind of a thriller, but it's not. It's just this. It's again. There was no rules. I was just like, nah, I'm making what I want to make. I don't care about genre or how you're going to sell it. I just want to make the kind of film I want to make. This is what I want to see. So it's a nice way to work.
Yeah,
it's liberating.
Cool. So, do you know where you want to hold a premiere? Is it going to be in Adelaide somewhere? Or?
I say it probably would be Adelaide. I would think so. If things go the way we want them to go, it'll be an Adelaide premiere. But we have every intention to try to get it theatrically released in Australia. We hope, but that will depend on how the film finally comes out.
Yeah.
If the distributor goes, wow, that's great. We can make a buck on the cinema with this. I'm hoping that they'll do that. But if not, I want to do Q&A screenings and tour it around Australia.
Awesome. Well, we'll be there, won't we, Ryan?
100%.
In the New South Wales, that's where you guys are?
Yeah, we're at Sydney pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There will be a Sydney screening of the Sundowner, I guarantee it.
We'll be the ones at the back of the room sticking our hands up going, are there any sharks in this movie? Are there no sharks in this movie?
No, there is no sharks because we never got finance. That's why there's no sharks.
What about land sharks? No. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Matt. This was a kind of a last minute one, but
no worries.
Where can people support you? Where can people give to the Sundowner Fund?
Well, we have the project up on the Australian Cultural Fund. So anyone can go to that website, look for the Sundowner, you will find it. That is a donation website. It's not like Kickstarter. Every dollar you give us, we get to keep. That is a great way to support us, and we just ask people to just give us the price of a coffee. If someone's got $5, $10 that they can give us, every bit helps, and that's going to help us get this film. We want to finish the film correctly. We don't want to have to compromise and cut things down because we can't afford to because every dollar goes on the screen. So the more money we got, we can put it on the screen and make the film better. So we're just asking that people give us a little bit of money and just to help a film like this get across the line, because films like the Sundowner are not going to get made in the traditional system. They're never going to be financed by the big Hollywood. So these kinds of movies will only come about if people who want to see these kind of movies are prepared to help it along. So like I said, making a $5 or $10 donation, that's fantastic, and it's all tax deductible. So whatever amount you give, you can tell your accountant at tax time that you made a donation, and that reduces your taxable income and helps with your tax return. So
amazing. All right, guys, I'll leave the links down below in the show notes for that. So if you want to reach out, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com. Until next time, keep supporting those indie authors and those indie creators, and we'll catch you on the next episode.